irregularities will be handled by the forces controlling each dimension. Transuranic heavy elements may not be used where there is life. Medium atomic weights are available. Gold, lead, mercury, copper, jet, diamond, radium, sapphire, silver and steel. Sapphire and Steel have been assigned.
Who are Sapphire and Steel? What are Sapphire and Steel? It's never fully explained throughout this 6 assignment series. This aired from 1979 to 1982. Is it science fiction? Possibly. Is it supernatural? Yeah. Is it making a science out of the supernatural? It's really difficult to explain. Obviously, I'm going to pick some scenes which will hopefully try to clarify some of it for you, but there's more mystery to Sapphire and Steel than what there is actual hard facts and what we know about these people. We know that they're not human. We also know that they're not of our dimension or even Earth, but they do take human form. So the names Sapphire and Steel are not code names. They are kind of agents of time and ensure that time does not break into the present and cause havoc. But we really don't know much more than that. Basically, Sapphire, played by Joanna Lumley, has certain powers to be able to move time. She's able to determine the age of an object. She is able to counteract certain things that happen. And Steel, played by David McCallum, is quite different. Where Sapphire is quite gentle, Steel is hard like steel, grey like steel, suffers no fools gladly, and will take no nonsense from anybody, has also immense strength and also the ability to freeze himself to absolute zero in order to kill ghosts. So yeah, how would we describe this? I would suggest you give it a chance, and I would also suggest that you really open your mind, because the stories are quite fantastic. Not in hey, whoa, but fantastic in really sort of stretches the imagination. There is a lot more of what you don't see than what you do see in these kind of scary stories, which was typical of the era. You do see things as well. It's not super duper CGI again, which obviously leaves nothing to the imagination these days. Nobody gets acid poured all over them. There are no real blood and guts, well, the odd bit, but yeah, this is really pure suspense, science fiction, fantasy, supernatural, dark elements. In total there were 6 assignments, if you will, so 6 separate stories, and basically they are all quite different, all quite fantastic. And what you will find with this is people are few and far between, and Sapphire and Steel basically arrive to literally stop things happening before they happen. So what you will find is the whole story will be centered around a house, an abandoned railway station, a flat above a shop, etc. And it's about Sapphire and Steel stopping time from getting any further than that. But what goes on in that particular area is quite intense, quite eerie and quite disturbing. So without further ado, let me disappear and we will begin with Sapphire's first explanation of how time works.
There is a corridor.
It can't be explained to him.
It can, in a way, but not by you, perhaps. There is a corridor, and the corridor is time. It surrounds all things, and it passes through all things. Oh, you can't see it. And this sometimes, and it's dangerous.
This corridor, can you enter it?
No, not in the way you imagine. You cannot enter into time. But sometimes, time can try to enter into the present. Break in, burst through and take things. Take people. The corridor is very strong, it has to be. But sometimes, in some places, it becomes weakened. A fabric, worn fabric. And when there is pressure put upon the fabric,
Time comes in.
reaches in and takes out what it wants. And we think that time has broken into that room, broken through, and taken away your parents.
Assignment 1. Now this is something that we were never told to do when we were kids, was to never let in strangers, but yet these two just suddenly come barging in. And it is, firstly at this point you get an idea that Sapphire has some powers, even though he doesn't know who they are, but Sapphire gives a little check with her eyes and she knows something is wrong. So that's when you first begin to realise there's something more to these strange people who have just practically invited themselves in.
Well then, your policeman at the point with his idiot notebook and his idiot questions stands no chance of getting them back for you. But we do.
Whatever it is that's happened to them, my mother and father, is it serious?
Yes.
As the story progresses, we find that the little girl has gone back up into the top room, wanting to try and call her parents, etc., by reciting the same nursery rhyme. And what happens? We get a strong power. As you can see, the wall comes alive, things start to emerge, including countrymen from who knows when, and basically the little girl's doll is sucked into this corridor, sucked out of the present into time. Now the next part is the real evidence of what you don't see rather than what you do see, and we get this moving of the camera to the door, and there's a bright light behind it. There's this very room that's been nailed up so that nobody may enter again until it's sorted, so you know that there's chaos in that room. You don't actually see it, but you can see the light under the door. Things have been released from the top of the house and have started to move down by some trickery, and Steel has to freeze himself to absolute zero and kill the two ghosts. So he does so, but the way he does it is quite amusing, and I wouldn't recommend anybody tries that at home.
In the name of God, please tell me who you are. Because I know you're here. I'm a friend, and I want to help you.
Assignment 2. A well-intentioned ghost hunter knows that there's something afoot at this very abandoned station, and it's very eerie because even the doors that rattle give an eerie feeling.
I want to help you. Whoever you are.
And here we get an example of how Steel doesn't like to be trifled with.
It wasn't my asthma again, was it?
No, it was not your asthma. When you first came here, what did you do?
I remember now, they tried to kill us.
Not quite. They encouraged us to die. When you
antagonized.
When you first came to this
You
place...
antagonized the ghost of that young soldier.
I know, I meant to.
Meant to?
Yes, and given the opportunity, I intend to antagonize him even further if it helps me to find out who he is, who his friends are, and why they decided to haunt this particular railway station.
Well, perhaps...
Oh, if I went out there and asked him nicely what his name was, I tried that.
Well, knowing how
Come
you...
on now, Mr. Tully. Are they behaving the way your average ghost is supposed to behave? Would all your pals at Psychical HQ classify them as good ghosts or bad ghosts?
That depends.
And what about one of your priests?
What about him?
Would he give them a favorable report?
Again, that depends.
They attack us with their own pasts.
I know.
With their own deaths, Mr. Tully. I saved you from one such experience. Sapphire saved me from another. So, when you first came here...
When I first came here, there wasn't all this trouble.
There was no danger?
No.
Just no...
They found me.
So what do? Do we go? Go back?
No. It's all right. It's coming to help. It's coming now.
Now we have a situation where one ghost after another has appeared, all waiting for something, and that something is a strange darkness that materializes on a platform and moves.
Now let's close our eyes, please.
During this investigation, Steel decides to let Tully, the good-intentioned ghost hunter, perform a seance where Sapphire seeks out an old friend of the main ghost before the darkness comes in.
Think about your thoughts, please. You just think of your village, the village where you live.
Yes.
On a hot summer day a long time ago. Do you remember it?
I do, yes.
Can you see it?
Almost, yes.
And the school where you teach?
Yes, I can almost see it.
Good. Keep thinking about it. Now think about your classroom. The children.
Yes, I can almost see them. The sun's shining. It's a hot day. Open the window, somebody. That's better.
Sapphire?
Who's Sapphire?
Just think of your classroom.
Yes.
And think of the children in the classroom.
Yes, I can see them properly now.
Good.
They're all there. All of them. All except Sam Pierce. Always late Sam Pierce. Oh, the sun's gone. It's dark. Darkness. So careful at the back there. Careful.
Tully,
Please be careful.
You've seen darkness like that before.
well, what is it?
Whatever it is, it's capable of bringing back the dead.
No, you can't break the circle now. She isn't back yet.
Why isn't she back?
I don't know.
Sapphire!
No, you can't break her that way.
Sapphire!
No, you can't.
Come on, Tully!
Assignment 4. The best way to describe this is the way that people put photos in a fire to curse somebody. The first scene is where a parasol girl emerges from the past, from an old photo, into the real world, and then she summons others.
See, it hasn't been touched for 97 years.
Until you broke the glass, yes.
The next point of the investigation
Yeah, those
reveals
people are in there.
one point
Yes.
is how seriously the actors take the part.
Careful, Steel. It's the only surviving copy.
If I destroy this, I'd be destroying them.
The sudden implosion of chemical molecules would cause an emission of photons as energy which would be impossible to contain or reverse.
In every photograph there ever was.
But also, they discover this man shape, a man without a face. And he can appear and disappear and travel within the whole series of photographs that have ever been taken.
What about that one?
Could be behind the fence, or in the street beyond, or in the next room.
But all was in there somewhere.
Yes.
So every photograph is a photograph of infinity.
We also get to see here somebody who is not afraid of steel. This is a girl that lives in the flats at the top of this very single shop, and when steel does not suffer fools gladly, neither does this character Liz, and she won't take any nonsense from him either. And that is the first time that really does happen, and possibly the last.
Can you see her in the photograph?
See her in it? In that thing? How can I see her in that thing? That thing must be 1,000 years old.
87.
What?
It's exactly 87 years old, give or take a week.
The building at the far end of the street. The top floor in the window.
I'm not sure. I mean, it could be anybody.
Yeah.
All right, so it looks a bit like her. Same shape face.
It is Ruth.
Look, if this picture's 80 years
Look
old,
here.
then what the hell can
I
it...
said look there.
So what am I looking for this time?
Just look. Williamson, your previous landlord, who disappeared about the same time as your friend Ruth disappeared. 1, 2.
Now, wait a minute.
The next scene is where the girl's friend had gone missing, and now we see that she's trapped in an old photograph. And the actual camera work in when Sapphire communicates with this person is really good, because the camera actually zooms in when the trapped Ruth character is unsure or even terrified.
He wasn't there again today. I wish he'd stay away. Yes. That's it. That's the one, I remember it.
Why do you remember that rhyme in particular?
Because I'm remembering a lot of things these days, it's like daydreaming. I know why I remembered that. It was the man on the stair. That's weird. That seems like the last memory I've ever had.
Right then, so that's 3 of the 6 assignments. I'll just tell you briefly about the other ones. Assignment 3 is where some people have come from the future to study the 20th century, and their building is invisible to the rest of the world. Obviously Sapphire and Steel find it, and it also manifests a strange creature that comes to avenge itself. Assignment 5 is one where you do get a lot more people, because there's another producer involved in that particular one, and it is again mixing the old and the new, but it's a kind of a whodunit kind of situation. So yeah, that's quite interesting, that one. And Sapphire and Steel go under the guise of Miles and Virginia in that one. And the 6 episodes, yes, I'll leave you to watch that. So it's time for me to go.
I'll get her out of here.
And now I'm gonna get myself some fish and chips.
Ring-a-ring-a-chip shop. Then I did the big clock. A tissue, cover your mouth, you dirty sod.